very interested in getting involved in your specific issues because I think that helps everybody understand what, how we look at things and how we can work together to make it a much smoother process when you are involved in the ACB program. We're also pleased to have our new inspection contractor on board, McWright. Some of you folks may have already had the pleasure of dealing with McWright. We're very happy to have them on board. They are professional. They've got first-class technology, first-class website, and it's making our program a whole lot better. So Ron from McWright is also going to make a presentation tonight. And just introduce you. Met Jackie introduced herself. We've got Jessica. We've got Jerry. We've got Ann is on the camera.
On the camera.
And then we have Cheryl in the back. So this is part of our great team that administers about 13,000 vouchers throughout the county. And couldn't do it without you. So thanks again for coming. We look forward to a very good summer.
Again, thank you for coming, and we appreciate your interest in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We're going to do an overview for you of what the Housing Choice Voucher Program is all about. We're going to touch on benefits to you as a landlord in participating in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, roles and responsibilities, easy steps to becoming an HCV landlord. Then we're going to actually walk through ways that you can actually list your property, once you get your tenant, screen your tenant, and actually walk you through the steps to get your tenant moved in and then get you paid with your monthly half payment. We're going to talk about annual recertifications, some miscellaneous tips, fair housing. We will have a presenter, Miss Maya Abdi, here from the Department of Human Rights, the Fair Housing Division. Then Mr. Patty's going to talk about some of the other programs we have, and then we'll have a time for questions and answers. I hope all of you have picked up a forms packet, and as we go through the presentation, I will be pointing out, as well as some of the other presenters, some of the forms in the packet. The slide is also in one of your packets, so you can use this as reference later. So let's begin. What is the Housing Choice Voucher Program? It's formerly known as the Section 8 program. You'll hear a lot of people say a Section 8 tenant. It's actually now called the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Choice because our tenants can have a choice to live anywhere they want, as long as that area is serviced by a housing authority. So you may get a tenant who started out with us in Cook County and chooses to move to Hawaii. As long as that area is serviced by a housing authority, they can choose to move there. We provide rental assistance to low-income individuals and families, and the funding is provided by the United States Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Tax service area. There's a form in your packet that shows the service area that covers the housing authority. So anywhere from up to Deer Park, down to Sauk Village, over to Lamont, up to Berwyn, that's the service area that we cover. We do not cover Chicago, and some of the municipalities that are serviced by their own housing authorities, like Cicero or Maywood, we do not service. We wanted to give a little breakdown of what our demand is, what's out there for our tenants. So right now our tenants are, the highest demand is for 3-bedroom units, this green area here. I had a landlord at the last meeting who said, I have a 2-bedroom unit. You know, are your tenants looking for them? Actually, our second highest demand is the 2-bedroom, followed by the 1-bedroom. We also wanted to show average rent. So again, this is average. We'll talk later as to how we come up with the rent that we would offer you as a landlord, but I wanted to give a little basis to show you where we're at average across the county, the suburban area. So we're about 980 for the 3-bedroom, about 820 for 2, and about 770 for 1 bedroom. But again, that's average. We'll go through how we come up with that rent that we're going to offer you. Benefits of becoming an HCD landlord. Especially in today's economy, we know rent is important for you. So that is one of the most important benefits, is a steady monthly cash flow. We guarantee you on a monthly basis, via direct deposit, rent. As long as that unit is in compliance with HQS and the tenant is eligible. You will get a housing assistance payment every month. You get to choose your own tenant. I think the misconception is that we give you a tenant and then you must accept the tenant. That's not how it works. You actually list your property just like you would any other tenant who's not on an HCD program. So you choose the tenant you want. You would screen your tenant just like you would any other tenant not on our program. You'll be reducing homelessness and offering housing stability, less turnover. We find that with our program participants, when they find a good place to live, they stay there. They don't have the money to keep moving. So again, they find a good place to live, they stay, which is less turnover, more profits for you as a landlord. HQS inspections, housing quality standards. We go in and we do inspections before the tenant moves in on an annual basis, and sometimes even more often, like an emergency or a special if needed. We also do quality control inspections to make sure that we're in compliance with HUD's regulations. So our clients tend to know we're coming out, so they have a tendency to keep that unit in a better condition than if we didn't come out at all. Free advertising and marketing of your units. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can list your property on www.illinoishousingssearch.org website. It's a free service. We encourage landlords to list their property there because when tenants come to us and say, do you know of a property in Harwood Heights, we will direct them to that website. And there's minimal paperwork. Really, you as a landlord, you have the easy part. You have to complete some documents. We'll talk about what those are. But other than that, your documentation is minimal. Roles and responsibilities. Just like in any other program, we have partners, and every partner plays an essential role. So our first partner is HUD. They contract with the Housing Authority to administer the program. They allocate the HCD funds to the Housing Authority. They develop regulations. There are notices and rule books and guidelines and notices that we must comply with. And they monitor our compliance. We have annual reviews and audits to make certain that we're actually doing the job that we're supposed to be doing. I like this triangle, and it shows the connection between the next 3 partners. We have the participant family and the landlord. The participant family and the landlord are linked together by the lease. You all know what a lease is. It's a legal document that the landlord and the tenant enter into. The HAP and the landlord are connected by the HAP contract, the Housing Assistant Payment Contract. There's a copy in your forms book, but we'll go over exactly what that HAP contract is. But legal agreement that binds us to, tells us what we have to do, tells you as a landlord what your obligations are. HAP and the participant family, we're connected by this voucher. The voucher, I say, is the ticket. So when your tenant comes to you and says, here, I have rental assistance, they show you this voucher. It's the legal document that the Housing Authority says we are agreed to provide rental assistance on behalf of this program participant. HAP, what do? We have a waiting list of over 10,000 individuals. We maintain the waiting list, and periodically we will pull individuals off the waiting list, and we'll determine if they're eligible to be on the program. We also have current, obviously, over 13,000 current participants that we recertify annually. When they want to move, or when we pull tenants off the waiting list, we issue them vouchers. We will inspect and certify that the units meet the HQS standards. We'll recertify the tenants annually. We determine and pay you, the landlord, the housing assistance payment. monitor compliance to make certain that our inspectors are doing the job that they're doing, our housing specialists are doing the job that they're doing. And we seek expanded opportunities for assisted families to locate housing in areas of lower poverty. This is one of our most important roles in this program. And this goes along with our mobility program, which Mr. Patty's going to talk about later. Very important role that we have at the Housing Authority. Participant. They obtain this voucher. They provide information to the housing specialist regarding their income, assets, expenses, and family composition. They allow us to inspect their units. They enter into a lease agreement with you, the landlord. They pay their rent on time. They adhere to the lease, and they abide by the family obligations. The landlord. You select a family, again, just like you would any other tenant that's not on our ACB program. You screen your family. You're going to hear me say this over and over. We'll talk about tips for screening. Very important role you have to screen your tenant. You enter into a lease agreement with the family. You enter into the HAP contract with the HAP. You keep your unit in HQS compliant. If your tenant calls you with the refrigerator's not working or the heating unit isn't working, it's your obligation to go in there and maintain that unit up to HQS standards. You enforce the lease. If your tenant is not paying rent, you need to enforce the terms of your lease agreement. And you need to comply with the equal opportunity and fair housing requirements. Again, treat these tenants just like you would any other tenants not on the ACB program. And all these partners are very important in the ACB program, but really the landlord is the key. If you as landlords did not provide affordable housing to our